For years, you guys have been asking us to finally review the Saw franchise, and I'm delighted to say we are starting with the worst installment of the entire thing. I apologize, everyone out there. I saw someone after we put up the intro skit that we did for Thorgiween. I saw someone say, "Oh, finally, Thorgy's going to talk about Saw." I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let me just say this. We actually, 2 years ago for Thorgiween, we were going to start doing a new thing for Thorgiween where we would end the week by reviewing an entire franchise. Take an entire horror movie franchise, review the entire thing, and we were going to do Saw. Saw was going to be the series that we started this thing off with. In fact, a lot of the ideas that I had to do for that video kind of got reused for this year's Thorgiween skit. Like, I was going to have a thing where, like, oh, I'm trapped, and Jigsaw's making me watch all of his movies back to back and review all of them. So we were originally going to review all of the Saw films, but we ran out of time not last year, but 2 years ago. I just ran out of time. I didn't get to do it. But I did end up watching all the Saw films because of that. I have seen them all now. And much to my surprise, I actually kind of like the Saw franchise. I'm not a big fan of slasher films. I really hate torture porn films, which is what the Saw franchise was sold as. But when I finally watched the Saw franchise, I was delighted to see that's not really what it is. It's a mystery film. It is a thriller film. It is a film that is not about, oh my goodness, will these people escape these traps? The people after, like, the second film, they're not even important. They're not even a thing anymore. It's now all just become like a police detective thriller film. In fact, I'll be real with you guys, I wouldn't even really consider the Saw franchise to be a horror franchise. I consider it to be a thriller franchise, which, again, those things are a hair apart from me and each other. Most horrors are thrillers and most thrillers are horrors, so they're, like, right there. But to me, the horror element is almost non-existent after a certain point in the Saw films. It's entirely just the thriller side of it. It is entirely just the, okay, we're on a race against the clock. We gotta get to this thing. We gotta solve this mystery right now. And I find that stuff to be really fascinating. And I really did actually enjoy most of these Saw films. I think, what are there, 7 of them?
I don't know. I lost count.
Me too. But I think there's 6 and this is the 7th one. I really like the first 3. 4th one was like, it's okay. And the 5th and 6th one was like, okay, you're just milking this thing and you just have no idea. Which brings me to Jigsaw. After they had said the franchise is over with, that last one, it's the last one, it's done, we're never doing another one. That lasted, what, like 5 years? Actually, it might have been longer. I think it was one of the things where they actually did wait a decent chunk of time before deciding to come back and try and recapture it. And from what I remember from the reviews and from audience reception and from the box office, I remember it not doing great. It didn't do terrible, but it did okay business. But yeah, I think that made it clear to the studio. Yeah, we've done Jigsaw. We're kind of done with Jigsaw at this point. And I gotta say, after now finally watching this film, yeah, we're kind of done with Jigsaw. We're kind of done. Because that was why we were going to actually review all of the, that's why we were going to review all of the, goddamn, what do you call them? All the Saw films.
Yes.
2 years ago, because that's when Jigsaw was coming out. It's like, okay, it was all leading up to the big return of Jigsaw. And then I didn't get to make that video. I didn't get to review Jigsaw. And now, after 2 years, I've gotten to review Jigsaw. They should not have returned to this. They should not have returned to this. They should have let this franchise just sit. Because this thing is such a desperate attempt to try and bring this thing back. And it's probably the clumsiest of all the Saw films, because one of the things that makes the Saw films special, it's not even like all the mystery, it's not even all of the horror elements, it's not even the characters themselves, it's the big twist, it's the big reveal. You know, all these Saw films, they're all leading up to that moment, in which they go, it was actually this thing, and then bum bum bum, bum 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 bum, and then the Saw music just starts blaring in there, and then you see all the clips from earlier on in the film that let you know this is what it was leading to, and you go, oh my god, it was there the entire time. We called this twist like halfway through the film. We called it halfway through the film because it was just shot so poorly. This thing like integrates the twist element in here so poorly that how could it not be this? For anybody who doesn't know, Jigsaw has been dead for several movies now. I think he died in the third film. So the last three of the original Saw trilogy, of the original Saw franchise, he was already dead in there. And so in this one, now you've got some brand new person trying to redo all of Jigsaw's traps. And it's been several years, but you know that he's dead, so it can't be him. And who is it actually? But the person who is actually running these traps, they sound just like Jigsaw. And we're following a brand new group of survivors who they're in this trap. And how are they going to get out of this thing? And then you're also following the police who are trying to track down Jigsaw and find where these people are. There was like no sense of urgency whenever you cut to the cops. There was no sense of, okay, we're on a race against the clock here. We gotta make sure that we find these people. And then whenever it cut back to the people in the barn who were trapped, it always felt like a completely different time of day. So you had to ask yourself like, okay, how much time is actually passing? Like, aren't these people starving to death by this point?
Like there's literally a shot where you're like, is that daylight shining through like the
There's a lot of times in which it shows the people being tortured and it's daytime, and then it cuts back to the people who are investigating. It's like, this really feels like nighttime. Although I know what you're talking about. You're talking about at the end of this thing, there was a moment where someone runs from one room to another room, and it literally goes from day to night in between those shots. Which, yeah, I'm not normally the biggest stickler for that, but this entire film has been shot so poorly that you just have to look at it and go, oh, you guys just were not paying attention to this stuff. But yeah, there's no sense of urgency with the cops. There's no sense of like, okay, well, we have to do this, like, we're running out of time. And then you keep finding like the remains of the people. Like every time that someone dies in this big experiment, their body gets found. But that means that the person would have to die, Jigsaw would have to get rid of the body, then take the body around to another place, then return back to the trap in order to start running this trap again, which, no, you never get the sense that these people are sitting there having to wait hours and hours and hours. You never get that feeling at all in this thing. So it became clear like halfway through this thing, all this happened in the past. Jigsaw's still dead, this was one of Jigsaw's old traps, bam, figured out. Yep, that was the entire twist. Well, not the entire twist. Because there is another one.
Another one.
And we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, by the way, apologies to anybody who hasn't seen Jigsaw. But yeah, it's the post-Shriek out reactions. We don't
really do spoilers.
We don't do the spoiler talk on this thing. It's multiple years old. If you're going to watch it, you probably would have watched it. My apologies to everyone. I'll put a spoiler warning at the beginning of this thing. Or I'll forget. Who knows? Yeah, this is a film where the entire time I was watching just being really bored and just not caring. And it's a shame because I remember when I started the Saw franchise, I thought to myself, man, I'm just not going to be invested in this thing at all. And I got invested in those films. I really was interested in at least the first three of those films. I really enjoyed them. But then, yeah, the rest of them, they just felt like you're just dragging this premise out. There's no reason for us to be here.
Yeah, it's like...
that sums this film up entirely.
It really does get to the point where, like, all the Saw movies start to, like, blur together, and it's like...
Oh, yeah, well, especially because, like, two of them happen at the exact same time. Mm-hmm. And, like, I think it's either the third and fourth, or the fourth and the fifth one happen at the exact same time. And there's a random guy who shows up at the end of one of those films, and then the next film is following that random guy who popped up and how he was doing stuff at the same time. So which is an interesting idea, but again, it just makes you go, all right, dude, I don't even know what I cannot remember which film is which at this point. I'm sorry. But yeah, this film, it keeps trying to make you think like, okay, so who is actually the new Jigsaw? And who is actually the bad person in here? And I didn't call who it was, but I certainly called who it wasn't, and it was everyone they were trying to make me think. Was Jigsaw. I was like, okay, there's one dirty cop who's a complete jerk. Well, that's clearly not Jigsaw. Obviously. I know you're trying to make me think he is, because you're trying to go, well, he's evil. Yes, but Jigsaw views himself as being in the right and being a good guy, so it's not the guy who is openly crooked.
And then there was the girl who was
was like the person working, what do you call him? The person who works at a morgue, not morgue,
mortician?
Well, mortician, but no, the person who works in the,
embalming, or?
No, the person who actually works at, like, I'm forgetting what the person is called and where they work, but the person, morgue, wait, no.
You said that already.
I already said that. Whatever, the person who deals with dead bodies. I probably did have the correct name at one point, and you probably had the correct name at one point, I'm just saying no. But yeah, the person who works at the morgue, there's a moment where they go back to her house, and she collects old Jigsaw traps. Like I looked at her room and I just went, where the hell do you relax? Like, there's no couch, there's no nothing in here. It's nothing in your living room but glass cases with Jigsaw traps in there. Which, how do you even have those? Why on earth would the cops let that stuff be auctioned off? Like, I know that cops occasionally auction off stolen goods. I know that occasionally, stuff from crime scenes, they do get auctioned off every now and again. But not serial killer traps. Typically, that stuff doesn't go out. I mean, I could understand some crazy rich person having access to that, but also, how well does working in the morgue actually pay off? How much are you actually making from this that you can buy multiple Jigsaw traps? It was perplexing, but I knew they did that to make me go, okay, well, she's a big Jigsaw fan, so she's clearly supposed to be the new Jigsaw, which means she clearly is not the new Jigsaw.
That's the thing, there were too many red herrings in this movie.
And none of them were good. None of them made me go, oh, well, it might be that person. Yeah, the person who it actually was, I didn't guess it was them, but only because I wasn't interested. Because there's really only 3 characters in here, and I knew 2 of them weren't, but I didn't care enough to go that to go, the door was open, the movie was shoving my ass through, I was just, no, I'm not going to take that extra step, I don't want to. I'm not interested in this. So, yeah, it's, again, we're just doing full spoilers on this thing. At the end of this thing, he's got, he and the crooked cop, the one good cop and the crooked cop, they're in this trap. And Jigsaw's tape comes on and says, in order to be set free, you must confess to your crimes. And then the good cop, he has to go first. He's going, no, okay, fine. I was the one who misdiagnosed Jigsaw. It was real. He used to work in an ER. He got the names on a file wrong. And because of that, Jigsaw didn't know that he had cancer until it was too late and it started killing him. He wasn't able to take treatment in time for it. So he's the guy who was actually responsible for Jigsaw's death, which did play into the stuff with all the victims that we saw earlier in this film. But then it looks like he dies. Then it cuts over to the crooked cop, and he starts confessing to everything they did. Just everything. Then, the good cop stands back up, and he reveals, I'm the new Jigsaw. And he's got a tape recorder, and the tape recorder wasn't playing Jigsaw's message, it was recording everything the crooked cop just confessed to. And he reveals that, yes, he was the one who switched the names for Jigsaw and the other patients, so Jigsaw didn't get chemotherapy or treatment in time for his cancer because of this. And, but because of that, Jigsaw came to him and just said, yeah, you just made a mistake. It happens. Which I do kind of like. The one thing that I've always kind of liked about Jigsaw is that he does have a code. Granted, that code gets kind of lazy in some of the films.
Yeah.
But he does have a code, and that does kind of make him interesting that, this wasn't done maliciously. It was not done on purpose. It was a complete mistake. It happens to people. And they reveal that after that, Jigsaw recruited him to help him build all the shit he would use in his traps. That this guy, I think he was a war vet or something, and he came back with PTSD, so he had trouble dealing with that. He had PTSD for some reason. I can't remember the exact reason why.
So I don't know, but I know he worked in forensics because he mentioned the laser pointer.
Yes.
Which oddly
this guy's had multiple jobs.
Yes.
This guy, because I remember he got PTSD from something. I can't remember what. But after that, he started working in a hospital, and he screwed up Jigsaw's files. And then after that, he started working with forensics for the cops. So he's just been all over the place.
Yeah,
but in his spare time, in addition to all those other jobs he had, he was also Jigsaw's right-hand man. And it's revealed he's the one who invented the reverse bear trap from the first film. So they're trying to come in here and go, no, he's the new Jigsaw, because he was always kind of Jigsaw, just one step of Jigsaw was the face, but this guy was the hands in the back making all this stuff. Which I will say is a better new Jigsaw than who they had in the last film. But here's the thing. You can't come back after all this time to have a film where you say, and here's the new Jigsaw, because that's literally how your last film ended.
Honestly, it feels like Jigsaw has like all these apprentices, and it's like, okay, now you're gonna have to prove yourself.
This is the third one that I can name.
Yeah.
This is the third one that I can name, because there was the one who was the junkie who got cured by being in a Jigsaw trap and started to realize, oh yes, no, I have to appreciate life. And then she started working for Jigsaw. She became part of the cult of Jigsaw. And she then became the person in the pig mask capturing people. But then she went too far and she started going nuts, so Jigsaw then, as his last act, had to stop her. So that was the last thing that he did. But then other people started running Jigsaw traps and kept his plans going. And revealed it was the guy from the first film who we thought died at the end of that film, but no, he was actually alive. He was able to survive, and he realized, yes, I am a better person because of what Jigsaw did to me. So now he's the new Jigsaw. That dude isn't, like, I don't think he's ever mentioned in this.
No.
I don't think they ever bring him up.
I don't think they ever bring up any of those other people in this movie.
I don't remember that.
It's just really weird. It's like...
This almost feels like... I know they wanted this to reboot the brand new Jigsaw franchise, but it feels like they just ignored a massive chunk of all the other films in here.
Yeah, there's like no continuity between this and the other ones. Like,
it's been a long enough gap of time that it's understandable how none of it could be mentioned. But it really should be mentioned.
Yeah.
Especially the last guy who was going to become the new Jigsaw and then just didn't for some reason. Because now, I mean, it literally ends in the same way. It literally ends. The very first movie ends with Jigsaw trapping the guy in there and going, game over, and close the door. And they brought all that back around for the very final film, in which that guy was now the one staying on the other side of the door and just, yes, game over, close the door. And this film, it ends with, I'm the new Jigsaw, close the door on the guy. Brother, you can't, like, it was okay to repeat it that one time because you brought the whole thing full circle. You can't double full circle it within the span of one movie. No, man. Nobody goes for the double full circle within one movie. It's a bold strategy, Jigsaw, and it did not pay off for you. This movie, it literally just feels like they just looked at what was supposed to be the last Jigsaw film and went, oh, that one wasn't very good. Well, let's make another last Jigsaw film. That might also lead into a future franchise. Who knows, possibly.
It's like
and it didn't do either of those. Like, it didn't lead into a new franchise, and it also makes me go, yeah, I'm just going to pretend like the last Saw film was the last one, because that's a way better, like... This guy, the sad thing is, this guy actually is a good character to bring into the Jigsaw universe. That's a weird phrase. But the idea, because one of the things that, yeah, when I kept looking at all of the Jigsaw films, I kept going, okay, well, we know he's rich. That's how he affords all this stuff. How's he making all this stuff? I mean, we know that he's a tinkerer. We've seen that.
But he's old.
But he can't. He's like, old. He's dying. He can't do this all by himself. We know that he can't do all this by himself. And they did introduce other people, but there were other people even after he had already started doing all this crazy stuff. So, yes, introducing like, okay, there was another person in there. It's understandable. But I will say, when they zoom in on that reverse bear trap, it is a little bit much like, this guy, see, you're gonna like this guy because he reminds you of that first movie, right? Yeah, this guy, it makes sense that he's the new Jigsaw because he was here the entire time. It really feels like just taking all that stuff that they built up in the previous films and just going, new element! But we had other things for the, no, forget all that stuff. New element, right there. Man, I am choking on my own gristly throat right now. Excuse me. Yeah, it's a fine element to introduce, but not here, not now.
It's too late.
It's too late for that, man. It's too late. You already had the ending. Don't introduce a brand new element that apparently was there the entire time to make them the brand new ending. It's not gonna work, man. It's not gonna work. So yeah, this film, it almost feels like a fan project. It really does. It feels like a fan film to me. Mm-hmm. Because even when the Saw franchise got bad, even when I didn't like the films anymore, they still had enough of like a shared tone and a shared execution. That's the word. The way that the movie played out, they at least still had enough of a shared execution that I could look at and go, yeah, this still feels like they're all part of the same thing. But like we said, the cutting back and forth between the different times, the cutting back and forth between the crimes happening, they feel so much like they do not match up with each other. And they're not happening at the same time. And they're not connected. That yeah, man, this really does not feel like it's the same people. I know that I might be exaggerating that a little bit, but it does feel more like this was someone who watched the Saw films, and when I can do that, it's like, no, you have the elements. You understand what makes a Saw film work. I mean, there's a twist, and there is a twist. All right, you got that. And all the people in the traps, they're paying for things that they did in the past, and okay, there's some pretty good reveals about some of the people in the traps. I'll give them that. There's some pretty good reveals about the people in the traps, but yeah, it doesn't have the tact, it does not have the execution that the previous ones did, and this really does feel like they were just coming back going, we gotta do this one more time. You really didn't. But that's it, everyone. That's the end of the very first week of Thorgiween. Sorry to go out on a bit of a bum note. However, the second week of Thorgiween always follows a theme. The first week is always just whatever we've been meaning to see. Every week after this, going to follow a theme. Second week of Thorgiween, the theme is going to be remakes. We're going to watch some horror movie remakes, and you might hear that and think, oh, remakes are always so bad. Horror movies actually have a decent track record when it comes to remakes. I mean, there's bad ones, but there's also some really damn good ones. So we're going to be watching that. Well, we're going to be watching those, and no, this is not just an excuse for me to watch John Carpenter's The Thing again. We did that last year, and even though I really want to watch it again this year, nope, we're going to try some different stuff. We're going to watch some different movies this time. But thank you guys for tuning in. If there's any remakes that you have in mind that you would like us to check out, let us know that in the comments down below. I have massive mush mouth right now, so we're going to wrap this up and just say thank you guys for tuning in, and happy Halloween.
Bye.